For more than 3 decades, one of the biggest secrets surrounding the death of Elvis Presley stayed hidden behind the locked doors of a Memphis funeral home. Fans knew the day he died. They knew the official story. But what happened after his body arrived for preparation remained known only to a handful of people. Then, 33 years later, everything changed when a retired senior embalmer revealed that he had quietly kept several items from that unforgettable night. Why would someone save them for decades? And what did they reveal about one of the most famous deaths in music history? It all began on August 16, 1977. What should have been another quiet afternoon at Graceland turned into a day that shocked the world. Elvis's fiancée, Ginger Alden, entered his master bathroom and found him lying face down on the floor. He wasn't responding. Within minutes, emergency crews rushed to the mansion. Paramedics loaded Elvis into an ambulance and raced toward Baptist Memorial Hospital, refusing to give up as they performed CPR and supplied oxygen throughout the trip. Every second mattered. But even with the best efforts of the medical team waiting inside the emergency room, nothing worked. At 3:30 that afternoon, doctors officially pronounced Elvis Presley dead. But that was only the beginning of an unbelievable chain of events. News spread almost instantly. Within an hour, thousands of devastated fans gathered outside the hospital. Reporters and photographers crowded every entrance, desperate for information. Streets became clogged with traffic, emotions ran high, and hospital security quickly lost control. Then something happened that almost sounds impossible. Amid the confusion, one determined fan slipped past distracted guards and made it into the room where Elvis's body had been placed. The intruder removed the original identification toe tag as a personal souvenir before disappearing into the crowd. How could something so shocking happen inside a hospital? Hospital staff panicked when they discovered the tag was gone. They feared someone else might try to reach the body, so they acted fast. A replacement paper tag was prepared, but instead of using Elvis's real name, they labeled him as John Doe. The fake identity was meant to hide his location and prevent further intrusions. By that point, the hospital was no longer secure. The decision was made to quietly move Elvis's body somewhere safer before the situation grew even worse. Avoiding major roads packed with reporters, the transport team made its way to the Memphis funeral home. Even there, tension filled the air. The employee responsible for accepting the body signed the transfer papers without even lifting the sheet to verify the identity underneath. Everyone simply wanted to get the body inside as quickly and quietly as possible. Once the doors closed, only 2 people were allowed to continue. The senior embalmer and his assistant, Hamilton, received strict instructions that nothing about their work could ever leave the room. But just how far would those orders go? Security unlike anything the funeral home had ever seen surrounded the building. Guards watched every entrance, every window, and every alley. The goal was simple. Keep everyone out. During the preparations, a special delivery arrived. Elvis's father, Vernon Presley, had ordered a massive custom casket made of copper and bronze, designed to match the one used years earlier for Elvis's mother. It weighed so much that several workers struggled just to move it into place. Waiting nearby was the final resting place for the king of rock and roll, while inside the preparation room, an entirely different story was unfolding. The embalmer faced a difficult task. Elvis's body showed the effects of years of serious health problems. Swelling caused by heart failure had changed his appearance, making restoration especially challenging. The team spent hours carefully preparing him so that family, friends, and fans would remember the performer they loved. Elvis had begun losing his natural dark hair color during his final months, so his familiar jet black look had to be restored. Every detail mattered because millions of people would soon see him one final time. But his face presented an even greater challenge. What happened next remained secret for decades. Cardiac arrest and the autopsy had left visible marks that needed to be concealed. Heavy cosmetics were carefully applied to soften those signs and create a peaceful appearance. Once the restoration was complete, Elvis was dressed in a white suit chosen personally by his father. Vernon wanted his son to look dignified and recognizable for his final farewell. Everything seemed routine. Then the senior embalmer made a decision that nobody around him knew about. Instead of throwing away the tools and supplies used during the preparation, he quietly collected them. Lip brushes, forceps, needle injectors, other instruments connected to the embalming process. He placed them into a private box and took them home. No permission was requested. No one at the funeral home realized what had happened. Hidden away inside his house, those items would remain untouched for more than 30 years. Why keep them? Was it sentiment? Curiosity? Or did he already imagine they might someday become valuable? As the years passed, the world continued mourning Elvis while countless books, documentaries, and conspiracy theories appeared. Yet the embalmer's collection stayed hidden. Almost everyone who had been there that night moved on with life, unaware that physical reminders of Elvis's final hours still existed in a private home. Then, in 2010, the secret suddenly exploded into public view. A respected Chicago auction house announced plans to sell the embalmer's collection. The timing couldn't have attracted more attention. The sale was scheduled just 4 days before the 33rd anniversary of Elvis's death, when thousands of fans would already be gathering in Memphis. This wasn't an auction featuring stage costumes, guitars, or gold records. Instead, it focused on medical items connected to the night Elvis died. Almost immediately, headlines spread around the world. But what exactly was going up for sale? The auction catalog stunned nearly everyone who saw it. It included used rubber gloves, aneurysm hooks, a comb, cosmetic eyeliner, and perhaps the most disturbing item of all, the backup toe tag labeled John Doe. Experts estimated the collection could bring in more than $14,000. Collectors prepared to bid, believing they had a chance to own objects tied directly to one of music's greatest legends. Yet while excitement grew among buyers, another battle had already begun behind closed doors. The president of the Memphis funeral home was furious. He argued that selling these items violated both professional ethics and basic respect for the Presley family. Lawyers quickly became involved, raising difficult questions about ownership and authenticity. The embalmer insisted these were the genuine tools used during Elvis's preparation. But former co-workers told a different story. They explained that equipment at the funeral home was normally sterilized and reused, meaning the items could have been used on many different people over the years. If that was true, were they really unique pieces of Elvis history? Even if the tools were authentic, another problem remained. The equipment legally belonged to the funeral home, not to an individual employee. Since the embalmer had removed company property while working there, attorneys argued he had no legal right to keep or sell it. Under mounting legal pressure, the auction collapsed just days before bidding was scheduled to begin. The retired embalmer quietly surrendered the entire collection to the funeral home's parent company, ending the controversy before a courtroom battle could begin. But although the auction disappeared, it reignited worldwide curiosity about something even more important. What had the doctors actually discovered about Elvis's death? Attention quickly shifted back to the medical evidence collected in 1977. While the embalmer had stayed silent for decades, pathologists had carefully documented what they found during the official examination. Their findings painted a heartbreaking picture of a man whose body had been struggling for years. Doctors discovered that Elvis's heart was nearly 1/3 larger than normal. Severe atherosclerosis had placed enormous strain on his cardiovascular system, and untreated high blood pressure may have made the situation even worse. Their conclusion was that Elvis suffered a fatal cardiac arrhythmia while alone in his bathroom. Yet his heart wasn't the only alarming discovery. What they found inside his digestive system shocked even experienced medical professionals. Pathologists diagnosed Elvis with severe megacolon. His large intestine had stretched to roughly twice its normal size and was packed with impacted waste that had built up over a long period. His digestive system had almost stopped functioning properly. Some experts believed years of heavy, high-fat comfort foods contributed to the problem. Others pointed toward long-term use of prescription painkillers, especially opioid medications known to slow digestion dramatically. Either way, the condition showed that Elvis had been living with extreme physical suffering long before his final day. But that still wasn't the complete story. The toxicology report revealed more than 9 different prescription medications in his system, including powerful painkillers such as Demerol and codeine. Some medical experts later suggested Elvis may have had a genetic liver condition that prevented him from processing codeine efficiently. If true, even prescribed doses could remain in his body longer than expected, gradually reaching dangerous levels. Combined with his existing health problems, those medications may have placed even greater stress on an already failing body. His changing appearance during his final concerts suddenly made more sense as well. The swelling that many fans noticed wasn't simply ordinary weight gain. Specialists later suggested it resembled symptoms associated with heavy cortisone treatment, which Elvis reportedly used to manage chronic pain and inflammation. The image the public saw on stage reflected a man whose health was rapidly declining behind the scenes. And once those details became public, people wanted answers about the doctor responsible for his care. Authorities investigated Elvis's longtime physician, Dr. George Nikopoulos, accusing him of prescribing enormous quantities of powerful medications. Although he was acquitted of criminal charges, the controversy didn't end there. Medical regulators eventually revoked his license over unethical prescribing practices. The investigation became one of the most talked about chapters in the story surrounding Elvis's final years. Yet another mystery remained. Why were so many official records kept hidden? Immediately after Elvis's death, Vernon Presley took legal steps to seal the complete autopsy report for 50 years. His goal was to protect his son's legacy from becoming defined by graphic medical details and prescription drug dependence. Vernon wanted the world to remember the performer who transformed music, not the painful condition of his body during his final days. That decision kept many records locked away until 2027, leaving room for decades of rumors, speculation, and conspiracy theories to grow unchecked. Without full access to the official documents, sensational stories flourished. Every new rumor found an audience. Every mystery attracted attention. Even the failed auction in 2010 proved that people were still willing to profit from the darkest chapter of Elvis's life. But when all the headlines, lawsuits, and strange collectibles are pushed aside, what remains is something far more human. Elvis Presley wasn't only an icon. He was a man living with severe illness, chronic pain, and addiction while carrying the expectations of millions of fans around the world. Behind the bright lights and sold-out shows was someone whose body was steadily breaking down. His final years reveal a painful struggle that fame couldn't erase and success couldn't cure. The Embalmer's hidden collection became a headline decades later, but perhaps its greatest reminder is how easily history can be shaped by the secrets kept behind closed doors.